Hey, Stoney here. I just want to do a quick and dirty reaction video about the latest patch, the update 1.1.1. Alright, so, I guess the big part of this one is just the combat power loss. So you are essentially are always going to be getting combat power, and you do not lose them until you've hit the top 200 worldwide, which is at the current level, I think it's around 2100 mmr. Well, maybe 2000 mmr. I'm not sure. But for like 95% of the player base here, you're not really in the top 200, so you don't have to worry about the combat power adjustments. But what is really interesting are the rest of this patch, and I think it's going to have some pretty chaotic weeks following this patch. And I for one am very much looking forward to the new stuff. I feel like the game, it's not stale by any means. I think there's just a lot of variety, and this is just adding to the variety, which is always a good thing. All right, first, well, let's talk about this new specialist. So missile specialist, you get 2 missile strikes for free on round 2. So missile strike has a cooldown of 2 turns, which means you get it on round 2, you use it, and you get it back again at round 5, I believe, and then again at round 8. So essentially, in the early game, you're either forcing your opponent to get shields, which is really bad for your opponent, or you are getting rid of some units. And if your opponents are going heavy in units that can't withstand missile strike, so these missiles, they do hit for 3000 damage apiece, enough to kill Stormcrawlers, Mustangs, any sort of chaff, Phoenixes. It can severely damage a lot of the medium-sized units, right? So it's just pretty good. In the later rounds, you can use missile strike for chapter, or just if you want something gone in a certain corner, you can use that for that purpose. So it is the very first specialist that is built around a ability instead of a unit or manipulation on the supply and stuff like that. So I like this. This is the new direction that this game is taking, and is adding a bit more variety to the startup rounds. Some players on Reddit says this is almost like a direct nerf to Stormcrawlers, because you're kind of forcing Stormcaller players into getting shields. Maybe. I would say this is almost a direct nerf to SimCity players. So what I mean by SimCity is when players build units around the tower. Usually you have Stormcrawlers above the tower, you have a line of fans, and then a vertical crawler behind the tower. So everything is kind of big ball around the tower. I think those are the most susceptible positions to these missile strikes. So we'll see. Upon first glance, I think 2 missiles may be a little overpowered, especially later on if you take the quick cooldown card. So you essentially get missiles like every other turn. It just feels a little strong. All right, let's move along here. New variants, ER Phantom Ray. So you get to increase Phantom Ray's range by 20 at the cost of HP decrease. So you're essentially turning Phantom Rays into like aerial Stormcrawlers is what this card does. And I don't mind that. I always wanted an aerial Stormcaller. It's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. Right now, I think the Phantom Ray starts at, 65 meters, so nothing to boast about. You take range on Phantom Ray, so it brings up to 105, and now you take ER, so 125. So it's definitely nothing amazing. 125 is less than Marksman, right? Marksman defaults at 140. Stormcaller defaults at 180. I think Phoenix's defaults at 120. So you get Phantom Rays shooting at the range of a vanilla Phoenix. And combine that with burst and oil spill, you essentially have this extremely strong line of defense. Oh, speaking of, now that I'm thinking about it, The missile specialist is actually fantastic against an aerial specialist because he cannot defend missiles or ability cooldowns of any kind when you have air units. So yeah, that's actually very strong. So if you want to play Phoenixes or just a lot of Phantom Rays into a missile spec, you're not gonna have a very good time, unfortunately. So Phantom Ray, yeah, this is interesting. Like aerial Stonecaller. So a couple ways you can play with this, I suppose. I love to play Wraith Ball into aggro, and sometimes I like to put down Stonecallers to suppress my enemy a little bit, especially if it goes really hard into vertical sledges. So with ER Phantom Rays, I can maybe, instead of going Stonecallers, I can just go Phantom Rays. You can also use it defensively with oil, so you get ER or just Vulcan with range. You put them around the tower, you get Phantom Rays, and then you just press the oil button, and your Phantom Ray will create like this ring of oil around your board, and your Vulcan will ignite them, and everybody dies. So there's definitely some interesting play with this card here. All right, next card, mass-produced Sandworm. You reduce the cost by 100, decrease the attack and HP by 30%. Okay, so it's essentially the same benefit as the mass-produced boards. Whenever you're taking a mass-produced giant, you're usually taking it for its abilities and not so much for its damage. So when I play mass-produced boards, I take shield, I take punch, and I take anti-air barrage. Because technologies do not get nerfed, and because now you have more of these units because they're cheap, you get a lot of benefits out of this technology. With the Sandworm, I think probably the best tech there is going to be Replicate and Mechabellum. Imagine you have like 5 Sandworms with Replicate and Mechabellum, and I think the larva, we have to double check in the testing ground whether the larva gets nerfed, but I don't think so because this is technically spawning, right? So usually only the big worm gets nerfed with 30%. The larva will continue to spawn, and if you just have more of this unit, you can theoretically overwhelm your opponent with just larva. So that could be another interesting play. I think Sandstorm might be back on the menu. So you do Sandstorm, Larva, Mechabellum, and it's just a bunch of worms followed up by ER Phantom Rays. Kind of scary. All right. Balance adjustment crawlers. Crawlers got a HP nerf and further nerf on loose formation. Okay, so crawlers is definitely getting nerfed hard. The cost of Mech Rage is decreased. Okay, interesting. Not a lot of people run Mech Rage. I haven't had Mech Rage on my crawlers in forever. Impact Drill is decreased. Okay, so what that means is now Replicate is a far less desirable skill, because before Replicate, which costs 250, gets countered pretty hard by Impact Drill, and now the Impact Drill is even cheaper for 150. So I really don't think there's a reason to even have Replicate on the crawlers. At the odd time, you can hit Replicate, and all of a sudden you are causing a lot of issues. But Replicate relies on crawler to have some type of HP in order to distract your opponent. But with the HP nerf and loose formation nerf, I just don't see a point with Replicate anymore. Subterranean Blizz, damage reduction increase. Okay, small increase by 5%. So crawlers, I think I start to see it as a more of a vanilla chap now instead of more cheeky play with Replicate. I think if I were to run crawler now, I'd probably run Impact Drill. I still keep loose because we don't really care if the crawlers are weak at loose. They tie up our Arclights, tanks, Farseers, anything that requires splash so much. But right now, like even the developer says that we're nerfing the crawler to give more advantage to fans and Mustangs. But fans and Mustangs into crawler clear is easily counterable, right? You can just take a couple Vulcans. Now that the Phantom Rays is, you've got ER, so you can probably take a couple Phantom Rays, put oil on it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But this is interesting. Overlord. I'm glad to see that the Overlord is also on the chopping board. For the last month and a half, I have just been playing, I would say, 60% of my games. Either I'm going triple tech Overlord or I'm playing against somebody who goes triple tech Overlord, whether it's Sledge Overlord or Foon Boat, right? Overlord is actually very strong at the moment, especially with high explosive. So let's see. HP decreased, 5% decrease. Okay, small, but I think, I don't know if it actually trips any breakpoints, but maybe we'll see. High explosive gets nerfed. I think this is much needed. High explosive is very powerful. 30% to 40%. I think it should help against medium. When I say medium, it's like 300 cost units up to giant. Right now, Overlord with launcher overload and range and high explosive can easily take on fortresses and melting point. So that additional nerf is welcomed. Death Note. In the mid and low MMR, players feel helpless when facing a large number of high-level overlords. Okay. I mean, it's the same counter, right? You counter overlords with a marksman and whatever unit that you can kill the front line with, and then maybe combine them with some A Mustangs in case the overlord gets mothership. So I don't see that changing. But for now, we'll see. Sledgies. Also on the chopping board. All the current meta is being chopped. So Sledgies, carry Sledgies is very oppressive. Especially when your Sledgies get to level 2 and up. So usually you build the board from round 1 to 4. And then by the end of round 5, you should have 5, if not 6 rows of Sledgies, a bunch of chaff with some AA, maybe like 2 marksmen for AA. And then you take mech rage and range. And then from round 6 and onward, you essentially just buy in chaff, leveling up your Sledgies. If your opponent goes heavy into scorpions with range, then you will take loose formation on your Sledgehammers, and then you will get EM to disable the scorpion, and then you win the game. But if your Sledge is unleveled at that point, or at least half of your Sledge is on level 2, then you're going to have some trouble killing the scorpions. So this is a nerf that speaks directly to that. So starting at round 5, when your Sledges start to get level 2, level 3, is going to slow it down, which means if you're the defender into Sledge carry, you can get scorpions still at that time, and you still be okay. But right now, if you're getting scorpions on like round 6, you're not able to win into carry Sledges. And trust me, I've tried it. There's actually a couple videos on my channel where I have tried to put a more variety of units like Stonecallers or Fireseers before I get scorpions, and it just simply does not work. Okay, so that could be interesting. Sledgehammer or Sledge carry is it's been nerfed, but quite a lot. I mean, 25%. That's a lot of experience. That's the difference between getting level 2 Sledges on turn 3 versus level 2 Sledges on turn 4. Which means you get scorpions, right? So that's a big difference. All right, the next unit is the Wraith. The cost of degen being is buffed for 50, so you get it cheaper now. That's funny because I love using Wraith, but I guess not a lot of other people use Wraith. Yeah, I don't know. I see Wraith as like this OP unit on the line. It's just so good, right? So there's a couple OP units on the line. The Wraith is OP, Typhoon is OP, and the Fire Badger is OP, and then the War Factory is OP. Like these 4 units, you put them on the line, you hit Launcher Overload or like 8-gun or whatever that tech that doubles is damage output, right? It just goes to town. So happy to see Wraith getting a little buff. I think I'm still going to play a lot of Wraith Ball. With degen being, I think it could be very fun. And also right now, because everybody's so busy with triple tech boats, nobody's actually using photon anymore. Everybody is just triple tech, right? So what do you usually see on boats these days? You see range, launcher overload, high explosive, and mothership. Occasionally, I know Apuchi is doing some weird stuff with his boat, so instead of mothership, he's just take chain gun. So it's like a battleship all the way. I actually started using chain gun myself, along with the other 3 battle techs, because I think chain gun sometimes pairs really well on the line with typhoons, more so than the other 3 tech. You just get a lot more value, a lot more units, very quickly. All right, next, Scorpion, one of my favorite units. Attack gets buffed by 6%. That's very interesting. I think the attack buff is mostly to overcome certain breakpoints at the 200 to 300 supply unit level. So I'm thinking, right now, I think level 2 Sledgy still gets 1 shot by Scorpion. Unless, of course, you take Tower. I think at that point you get 2 shot. I'm not entirely sure. Have to double check on that. Typhoon, I think level 2 Typhoon, you do survive. Because Typhoon starts with like 10,000. So, and this 6% increase won't help either. I think it's mostly for like the Sledgies and the Steel Balls. That's really what the breakpoint is. Siege mode, bonus by 20 meters. That's huge, actually. Because before, when I take Siege mode, hold on. Siege mode by 20 meters, so up to 100. What does that mean? Scorpion, right now, default, shoots at 100 meters. Oh, so that's what it means. Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay. So essentially what it means is that nowadays, if you take Siege on your Scorpion, your Scorpion is going to get very close to your Stormcallers. I think a Stormcaller... No, actually it shoots further than Stormcaller. Stormcaller starts at 180, right? So Stormcaller defaults at 180. So if you take Siege, you're out shooting Stormcallers. And then if you take range, you will forever be the furthest unit. So effectively, Scorpion is now the longest range unit ever. Minus maybe like level 9 elite marksman. Gotta do a math. 9 times 5, 45. Marksman. 140 plus 40, 180, 225. Holy crap, it doesn't even beat... I mean, it outranges a level 9 elite marksman. That's crazy. Because your Scorpion gets up to 240. That's the total range that you can get by taking Siege, which adds to 100. And then range, which adds another 40. So that's insane. 240? You can shoot your opponent's tower from your tower with the Siege mode Scorpion. Okay, that makes a lot of very fun games. And I think with the Siege mode buffed, one card I always like to use with Scorpion was Assault Score, because it decreases the interval. I think it decreases by like 30%, right? So with Siege mode, that could be a very strong strategy. I look forward to a line of Siege Scorps. That is like a dream come true. I love it. I love it. All right, back to Phantom Race. The cost of stealth is increased. Okay, so the developer thinks it's overused. The cost of oil is decreased by 50%. 100. Oh, that's what I was talking about earlier. So with ER Phantom Race, you take range, you take oil, and then you just stick them in the back, right? And then they just kill everything. They're essentially Stormcallers, which also happen to be spilling oil. And then you add burst mode on top of that, which is also getting buffed. This meta favors a lot of, you know, long range standard play. I don't know. This is a interesting meta. Developers note as a new unit, Phantom Ray has surprisingly balanced wing rate. I don't know about that. I think people just it's only been 2 weeks since the Phantom Ray was released, so you either have people that knows how to play into Phantom Rays, or people that don't know that you can use launcher overload bolts to hard counter it. That's it, right? Because of the Ray games that I've played, the moment I drop launcher overload and then the game is like over. Yeah, I don't buy this. I don't think it's a balanced winner. I just think people are clueless when it comes to Phantom Ray at the moment. All right, equipment nano, the OP gear has been nerfed. Level 3 makes sense. Unit drops. The cost of high-level Sandworm card has been increased. Hold on, what did Sandworm get again? It just got a variant, right? It didn't get anything else. That's interesting. I didn't know that was a problem. Although the overall wing rate of Sandworm is not outstanding, the impact of high-level Sandworm reinforcement of battlefield is significantly greater than that of other giants. So essentially, if you have a Sandworm and you have a nano, either it's on another unit or, I mean, it has to be on another unit, then you drop the nano on a Sandworm. Let's say you got like a level 5 Sandworm and you just let it rip. I don't know. Personally, I haven't had an issue with high level Sandworm. And what I mean by high level, I think the highest I've seen is like level 3, unless you get to like round 11. So I'm not entirely sure. Others optimize the sound effect of Phantom Ray. Fix and optimize localized text. Okay, so no more random Chinese characters whenever you're trying to get a unit card. That's good. Okay, so how do I feel about this patch? Very excited. This is probably one of the better patches I've seen. It really shakes up a lot of the ways that people play this game. So I am very much looking forward to big line battles where units are shooting from very far away. But at the same time, I feel like aggro players can also benefit from this as well. But I don't know. I feel like aggro is being punished at least a little bit. The missile spec is phenomenal for aggro players. For example, if you are trying to flank your opponent at the backside, and as an aggro player, you don't want to defend the backside. You want everything at the front. So you can put 2 crawlers and your opponent puts 2 crawlers and then you just missile them. Right? Yeah, this is interesting. All right. Let's see how it works. I think in the next couple of days, there will be videos and there will be all kinds of crazy technology and crazy plays. So if you have any games with crazy plays within this patch, make sure to send it to me. You can find the information down in my description. And with that, I will see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.